Going live. All right, we are all set to go.
All right, all set, Dave.
Great. Good afternoon. This is a public meeting of the Indiana Arts Commission convened to review regional initiative grants for fiscal year 2022 from Region 2, which includes Elkhart, Fulton, Kosciuszko, Marshall, St. Joseph, and Stark counties. I'm Dave Heist, one of the commissioners of the Indiana Arts Commission, and also from this region. I'll be facilitating the panel today. Today is April 19, 2021, and we're meeting online and streaming live for applicants and the public to observe. There is no contact between the panel and the audience about the disposition of applicants before, during, or after the panel meeting. This meeting will be recorded and made available upon request. At this time, we'd like the panelists to introduce themselves, starting with their name, occupation, and where they're from in the state. Jessica Barkus.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I am working in Marshall County in the marketing field, and this will be my third year working with you all.
Jessica Dennis.
I'm also Jessica. I am an operations manager for the Idea Center at the University of Notre Dame and live in St. Joseph County.
Connie.
Hi, I'm Connie Meadows. I live in Warsaw, Indiana from Kosciuszko County. I'm a retired choral director of 32 years and glad to be here.
Angela.
Hello, I'm Angela. I work as, I'm self-employed graphic designer and I'm a visual artist, and I work as an educator, a visual communications educator in St. Joseph County.
Randy.
Hi, I'm Randy Roberts, and I'm the Assistant Curator for the Midwest Museum of American Art in Elkhart. This is my first year on the panel, so I'm happy to be here.
Great. Thank you all for your participation and all your good work. We also have with us staff, Kayla Myers, the Regional Arts Partner Program Manager, and Ben and Stephanie from the Indiana Arts Commission. Now we'll begin the panel review, and we'll just take a moment to share how the process will work. I'll announce the application. We'll review and ask the first reader to begin the discussion. The first reader will provide their assessment of the application based upon the evaluation criteria and their personal perspective. Panelists, please note that the applicants do not need to be recapped since everyone has read the applications in advance. Please just provide your comments. After the first reader is finished, I'll ask the second reader to present any new, additional, or opposing comments. We're not looking for a consensus, just a full evaluation from the different perspectives panelists bring to the table. After the second reader is finished, I'll open the discussion for final comments. Remember, in the interest of time, we're only looking for new, additional, or opposing viewpoints. If a panelist has a conflict of interest, that panelist will be placed on hold while the application is reviewed. However, for this panel, there are no conflicts at all, so we will not need to do that this time around. Finally, once the application has been reviewed by the full panel, we ask the panel to update their scores on the online system. It's common for scores to change as a result of the broader discussion. These scores save automatically. As soon as you've completed, if each of the panelists will give me a thumbs up, we'll know that we can move on to the next application. Are there any questions? Okay, great. We'll start with the first application from the City of Elkhart Parks and Recreation Department. The first reader is Jessica Dennis.
Great. So for this application for the Rhapsody Arts and Music Festival, I thought the applicant did a good job of explaining the ways in which the festival organizers took past patrons' feedback and really made specific changes to improve their event, especially given the circumstances surrounding COVID. It was a little less clear to me how the event will financially benefit the participating artists or ensembles. Like the applicant did state that 50 artists will be paid for the project budget, but it would have been helpful to have a little bit of additional context added in response number 2. In addition, I thought that the links shared for the artistic examples were examples of local artists, but it wasn't clear if these were the actual performers or groups participating in the festival. And again, just some additional context would have been helpful. Regarding communication or community engagement and idea strategies, I thought that the applicant did a good job of recognizing that past festival events may not have been as inclusive or welcoming to the entire community, and really highlighted some of the ways that the festival organizers have tried to mitigate those issues. They also indicate that there's some free ticketing and accessible restrooms, transportation available, so I thought that was strong. I would encourage the applicant to think more strategically about how they gather input from the community and track the impact. They mentioned that social media is a great asset, but be curious to know exactly how they're using or gathering information from social media. Also, some more detail around the surveys that they say they're going to offer. Like how are they going to administer those? Are they paper, electronic? Just additional details on the tools and methods I think would have been helpful here. In regards to project management, I thought it was clear that the applicant has the necessary staff and experience to continue to put on an event of this size. The budget seemed reasonable, and I really appreciated the detail on the timeline. There's definitely a lot of coordination to be done for this event, and it seems really well organized.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate that. The second reader is Angela.
Well, I can't add anything to that. I think you read my notes, Jessica, so I agree with all of those points. Very well assessed. I really don't see anything new to add to that.
Super. Thanks, Angela. Okay, we'd open it to the full panel for any new, additional, or opposing comments from anyone. Okay, great. Appreciate that. Jessica did such a great job getting this started off. So I think we're off to a really strong start. We'd ask all the panelists to finalize your scores and update them in the online system with any additional comments. Give me a thumbs up when you're complete and we'll move on to the next application.
I think we got them all. Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Let's move to the next application. This is from the City of Warsaw, Parks and Recreation Department. And the first reader is Jessica Barkus.
Okay, so going through the summer concert series for Warsaw Parks, I really appreciate the longevity of this project. I mean, 26 years moving along, that's really great. I really appreciated the variety and the dedicated staff that they have. I went through their social pages. I wish that the schedule was on Facebook or somewhere, but and they didn't mention any COVID issues. So that could perhaps be linked to why it's not on there yet. I mean, waiting to see what we're opened up to. So that could be a reason there. Looking through their different concerts coming up, at least proposed coming up, it does allow for a lot of variety of participation from the community. There's not just a single type of music being put out. I did notice that the acts are from Michigan, Indiana, and Tennessee. So I love that as far as variety goes. One of the questions was how it pertains to getting a payment for Indiana artists. So I'm not sure if there's a little bit of a conflict there or not, but that would be something to look at. I like when I go into the community engagement section, they do have collaboration with transportation, which is a huge issue in a lot of communities. So that I gave a lot of effort into reading through several times because that is a huge problem that a lot of the smaller communities face. So I liked the collaboration with the community as far as taking evaluations via email, social media, in person, as well as getting the quality of the acts and community feedback and opinion. It shows some collaboration within the community. The number of participants, was really great. I like to see the community buy-in there. Shows the community's involved. There's a number of 9 artists locally that'll benefit. That's perfect. The longevity of the staff is important because they don't have a giant staff, but the longevity shows their ability to work through this project well. The timeline was great, and the radio ads I noted being an in-kind contribution shows some buy-in from the community as well. So, and then when you look through their ads, they really do show the variety in the ads as well. So there's kind of something for everyone, no matter what you're looking for, and being able to see that in the advertisements really gets the community involved. So I can appreciate that as the marketing side.
Good. Thank you, Jessica. The second reader is Connie.
Hi, my artist quality and artist benefit, I was wondering as far as their budget, what the artist compensation was for a 90-minute concert. And how did their past experiences inform them of this year's project? I didn't feel like there was enough information given. The artists involved were from Michigan and Tennessee. Why are there not any from Indiana? I was a little concerned about that. I know that they are bringing in Michigan and Tennessee, but why not any from Indiana? There was not an indication. Now, I understand this because I am from Warsaw, but there was no indication of where the concerts take place. Does the location have access for parking and patrons with disabilities? Who else in the community is involved in planning the project? And are the ethnic and racial minorities involved in this? So those were my concerns. I think it's a great project, though, that they are doing, and I agree with everything Jessica said.
Thanks, Connie. I do want to just step in as a quick point of clarification. I do know that they did list Michigan and Tennessee, but Indiana was also included in that.
Okay.
Yep.
I missed that then.
That's okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think the budgeted pay is in there as well per artist. Yeah.
I missed that then too.
Thanks, Connie.
You're welcome.
Let's open it up to comments from the other panelists as well. Any new or additional comments?
I just have a couple additional things. One quick note, I think in some of the questions, it asks applicants to number their responses. And I think in the future, the applicant should consider doing that. I think it would help us ensure that they don't miss providing any of the requested information. And then lastly, just on the budget, I was just wondering if there was any expenses relating to actually putting on the concerts. It doesn't seem like there's any expense line items for setup or tear down or power during the concert. So I was just wondering where that funding is coming from.
Great. Thanks, Jessica. Other comments? Okay, great. Thank you all very much. We're going to move to the, excuse me, please take a moment to update your scores and add any additional comments. And then just give me a heads up once you're complete.
And I will say, Dave, I think we lost Randy.
Yep.
I think he fell off. So Ben is going to reach out to him. I know he is the first reader on the next application, so we may want to pause for a moment.
Okay. Thanks, Kayla.
Thank you.
Technology can be challenging. Kayla, would it make sense?
The number that he has for his contact information is for the Midwestern Art Museum?
Yes. Yep. That's his main number, his office.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
It just sent me to voicemail right away, or its messaging thing. Let me.
I don't know, Stephanie, would you suggest that we keep moving on, or?
Yeah, my suggestion is to have the second reader go ahead and move ahead with the next application and just have one reader for that application and then open it to the full panel.
Okay.
Consider it done. Okay. We're going to move to the next application. This is from Downtown South Bend, Inc. And we're going to ask Jessica Dennis to be our reader.
All right. So this project is for Artbeat, and I thought the applicant provided a really clear purpose for the project and did a good job of explaining how they're implementing past artist and visitor feedback to improve the festival. There's a ton of different artistic disciplines at this event, you know, visual arts, music, dance, food, etc. And it really seems that the community engagement portion of this project seems to be a meaningful arts experience for the participants. It was really good to know that the jury fee is affordable for the artists participating, but I'd like to know if there was any other ways that the artists would financially benefit. In regards to community engagement and idea strategies, it seemed to be developed with lots of community feedback, and that there are a lot of different local individuals involved in the process of putting the event on. You know, as a free event, the project also seems to be well suited to serve underserved communities, and they do a good job of pointing out the variety of ethnic and cultural traditions that are represented during the event. And while the applicant says that they have artists from many different demographics, I'd be curious to know if they collect any data on the artist or the attendees to kind of track on how they're doing actually reaching different underserved communities. The applicant also does a fair job of indicating how they're going to measure the project's impact with, you know, the artist numbers, attendance numbers, and check-ins. But it would also have been helpful to know if the applicant has like specific goals or targets that they're trying to reach for each year. And then for project management overall, I thought that the applicant did a good job of sharing how they plan to execute the event. The timeline in particular was really detailed and showed a high level of organization.
Great. Thank you, Jessica. We'll open up to all panelists for any additional or opposing comments. Okay, and it looks like Randy is reconnecting. Randy, if you can hear us, we have just gone through downtown South Bend. And if you have any comments that you'd like to share on that, we've already done the readings, but would certainly welcome any comments you have on that application.
Sure. I apologize for that. My computer just completely shut down. So sorry. But I thought that the proposal for Downtown South Bend Inc. and Artbeat had many strengths that coincide with the IAC's criteria regarding community engagement and artist support. One way that they show a strong enthusiasm for the community is making the event free and accessible to everybody. It's an open event in downtown South Bend so that anybody can just come and go. So it's pedestrian friendly, car friendly, and handicap friendly. And that they also participate in a community art project, and that they incorporate the presence of socially focused agencies in the layout of the event. I would have liked to have known what the participants in the public art project have to say in like the surveys, whether they benefit from that participation and how they handle that experience. And I would also be curious what questions are asked in general in the surveys and how those changes or just the feedback in general has been implemented to enhance the event over the past 16 years. And as far as returning artists, do they return based on the high standards of the jury, or is it just part of being a part of the experience itself that they can't stay away from? I thought that the budget was pretty well established and reasonable, and the leadership of the event is strong. Thank you.
Great. Hey, thanks, Randy. No problems on the technical complications. We all experience those, but appreciate you being able to reconnect. Are there any other comments from any of the other panelists? Okay. What I'd ask for all of you is to update scores, add any additional comments, and then let me know when you're done and we'll move on. Okay. All right. Looks like everyone's complete, and we'll move on to our next application. This is Ensemble Concept 21 Inc. And our first reader is Angela. Angela.
Yes, thank you. So as you know, it's a professional ensemble seeking funding for extra ensemble musicians for 2 performances with South Bend Lyric Opera. I believe this grant would score higher if it explicitly stated those artists receiving remuneration if they're from Indiana. Otherwise, there's very good description of artistic programming and a number of ways that this project describes idea strategies, including noting the leadership's commitment to enhancing Latinx music and new board members who will help guide the work of the organization. Of particular note is the matter of venues used and or proposed for this project, ones that provide greater accessibility for underserved communities. The project includes its focus as for young composers of diverse background to develop their individual voices. Kudos to that. In terms of project management, it is the budget is balanced. The planning process and timelines appear well considered, and it provides a timeline reflecting the complexities of this project. Thank you.
Thanks, Angela. Our next reader is Jessica Barkus.
I don't have a lot to add. I also noted that the youth participation and performances, I think that that's really important. And the leadership being very well educated. One of the ads was for a scholarship art sale. Having a little bit more information on that would have been great. But other than that, it looks like a really well thought out project.
Super. Thanks, Jessica. We'll open it up to all panelists for additional or opposing comments.
I agree with everything that's been stated so far. The only comment I would add is that I found the community engagement section a little hard to follow at times. And I think in the future it might have been, or I would encourage the applicant to try to answer just one question at a time versus combining some of that information throughout the narrative.
Thank you, Jessica. Anyone else? Okay. Let's update scores, provide additional comments, and just let me know when you've gotten that done, and we'll move to the next one. Okay, looks like we're complete. Let's move to the next application. This is Full Tilt Arts, and our first reader is Connie.
I think you're muted, Connie. There we go.
Sorry. I really enjoyed reading through this and how the history was included. My question on the artistic quality and artist was how is this idea actually generated for the historical benefit of the nation and the Potawatomi Nation? Also, where are the mural or murals going to be displayed? And it's stated that there would be participation and interaction by the community, and how are they going to be doing that? Where exactly are the workshops taking place for the children, handicapped, and ethnic people impacted by that? Community engagement, I think they're doing a great job on that, involving all the community. Were there any community members not in organizations or businesses involved in that as far as volunteers? Measuring the project, I wanted to make certain that there are those that have no internet access, or they're unable to attend the unveiling and the educational sessions, have feedback access. I felt as far as marketing, a website is needed. More visual presence to the public about this, and possibly involve your local public school and art teachers. It's stated that they were going to have 2 artists involved, but it said 3 artists were going to be reimbursed, and I had a question about that. Timeline, if invitations are sent out in March, how are they being sent out? And it seems like a selection, April seems a good time, but if the invitations aren't received till late March, my suggestion was consider sending them out in February to give more time for that. And that's basically it.
Great, thank you, Connie. Our second reader is Randy. Randy.
I would agree with a lot that Connie has said. I thought that the goal was mostly clear to me. I had to resort to their social media to get more clarity of the project and where it's actually taking place, and what kind of materials are being utilized. But I thought that one strength of their proposal is that they are dedicated to promoting public access to the arts at no cost through participation or observation, particularly those who are in rural areas. But I don't think that their proposal explained how they actively work with the community to find or receive this group of new recruits. Another strength I read is that artists will directly benefit from their participation in the project. But it would be interesting to know what the participants learn about art making from their specific experience. And perhaps these questions asked in surveys could be implemented into the idea narrative to further illustrate those ideas. And I also thought that their social media presence wasn't as plentiful as I would have thought, but they did have a pretty strong marketing logo that I thought was professional and clean. Thank you.
Great. Hey, thanks, Randy. We'll open it up to all panelists for additional or opposing comments. Okay, great. For panelists, update scores, add any additional comments, and then we'll move on to the next application. Okay, thank you very much. Our next application is the Fulton County Historical Society, and our first reader is Jessica Dennis. Jessica.
All right, so this is for the Trail of Courage Living History Festival, and I thought the applicant provided a really clear purpose for putting on the event. There's clearly a lot of history with an event that's been going on for over 4 decades, and the applicant does a good job of highlighting all the different community members that are involved. One small thing, it would have been helpful if the applicant used the 1-2 question format, because they share significant detail on the artists involved, but don't specifically say how they will financially benefit. And then another really small thing is just to double check your links when submitting. The Facebook page URL did have a typo, but I was able to find it. For community engagement, I thought the applicant did a really good job of highlighting the ways in which they seek to reach underserved communities with the accessible grounds and the safety measures that they have in place. Sorry, I don't know if I'm glitching here. While the applicant says they offer free admission to underserved populations if they volunteer, it seemed to me that like 4 hours of volunteer time was a huge time commitment to someone who can't afford a ticket in the first place. And I wondered if there was a way to offer some truly free tickets to those who need it. In addition, it was great to see the addition of a suggestion box, and I would encourage the applicant to think about maybe to continuing to utilize surveys to get feedback from the community. As far as project management, I thought the project seemed well staffed, and the timeline provided a lot of clear detail on all the activities needed to be completed to run to the event. There is clearly a lot of moving parts here, but it's great that there's so much volunteer support from the community.
Great. Thank you, Jessica. Our next reader is Connie Meadows.
I definitely agree with everything Jessica said. I love that they're making an opportunity for those who can't afford the tickets. I agree too. I think that 4 hours is a little much. Possibly that's half of a work day for a lot of these people. I love that they're going into the schools and the prisons to promote awareness. And I think it's very positive that they're adding historical reenactors to this to bring the history to life. Community involvement is great. So that's about all I have to say on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Open it up for additional or opposing comments from other panelists. Okay, great. Well done. Let's update scores and add any additional comments. Okay, great. We'll move to our next application. This is Goshen Community Choral Incorporated. And Angela is our first reader. Angela.
Thank you. For artistic quality and artist benefit, this application provides a thorough description of the project's artistic quality. It includes examples to illustrate that and how it benefits Indiana artists, musicians, and vocalists. In terms of community engagement and idea, it's not fully clear to me how the project impacts the community, how it's measured. Some feedback mechanisms were described, however, and the impact for performers and artists for the community audience would strengthen this application even more if we knew that. It describes robust efforts to increase diversity in participation and to seek input and planning by many segments of the community, but could be even stronger if it described the process made on these goals. I think it clearly does address most of the idea strategies. In terms of project management, the application describes a succession plan for the leadership and the shared information pointing to the capabilities of leadership to carry on the mission. The budget question indicates a $2,500 donation to NPR, which I assume is WVPE, local NPR affiliate, for free PSAs. It might be stronger if it was cleared up about how that underwriting is, valued. Is it contributing to the VPE in exchange for on air? Or it wasn't really clear how that, at least I didn't see it. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Our next reader is Jessica Barkis.
I had just a few things. I really liked the number of collaborators they have on this project. I really also liked how when on their feedback forums, they're getting some feedback in the way of how people actually relate to the music, some of it based on musical beauty, community building. So I like that question there and how the community views it as a project. I wondered if people can actually watch the rehearsals. I think that could be something you could potentially use to build the community's engagement. I noted that the project is led by some very well-educated folks. I liked that, and that they're doing a ton of work with like a very small budget. So I really appreciated that as well.
Great. Thanks, Jessica. Other new or opposing comments? Okay. Ask the panelists to update scores and add any additional comments. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll move to the next application. This is Goshen Arts and Events, and Connie will be our first reader. Connie. You're on mute, I think, Connie. I'm sorry. You look like you're still on mute. Okay.
There I
Oh,
am.
you're good. You're good.
I apologize. The artist quality and artist benefit, I think that they clarified that quite well of what they are doing. I understood it quite well. The artists and musicians are from the Michiana area. How is that communicated to the public was one of my questions. And I may have missed this again, but what specifically are the payments to the artists? It's stated that 6 artists received payment, but only 3 cash prizes, and that was confusing to me. Can someone from outside Indiana receive the cash prizes? And I'm assuming that's true. The marketing materials and social media, I think, reflecting those that they need to serve, I think that needs to be improved somewhat because I wasn't clear on that of who they were trying to serve. Marketing materials are a little vague. Underserved barriers as far as handicapped patrons, I didn't feel like was addressed. They talked about teenage up and coming artists and what exactly do they do as far as that? I was not able to understand that. Application fees, what might those be? And how much are the contractor and performer fees specifically? And where are the 3 prize expenses shown on their project management? That's it.
Super. Thanks, Connie. Our next reader is Randy.
I thought that the organization's goal was straightforward, and the methods they are planning to use there to reach that goal are appropriate. I thought that they did demonstrate a commitment to underserved communities by having different ethnic and cultural events and music to make it more inclusive. But in other areas of the proposal, there's some information that doesn't seem to be fully addressed. For instance, how is the organization's task force to work with the community to find the organization's direction and further the direction of the event itself to represent the input of the community, or a description of how the community will benefit based on the relationship formed between the city and Arts Council would have been perfect. The project timeline was minimal and only provided basic deadlines related to artist applications. A more detailed timeline focused on the event's many logistical moves would have enhanced this section and given the reader a more informed look into its operational planning. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Randy. Comments from the other panelists, new or opposing comments? Okay, thank you very much. Please take a chance to update your scores, add any additional comments. Okay, great. We'll move to our next application, Merriman's Playhouse, and our first reader is Jessica Barkus.
All right, for Merriman's Playhouse on their homegrown jazz program. I noted that this description is very interesting. It was really it's really great marketing piece by itself. And the student jazz open sessions sound very interesting as well. So I think that this could lead to a very meaningful experience for their niche audience there. I like that they promote engagement between the artist and the audience by allowing that conversation to happen before and after any performances. And I like that they use that time to collect some feedback. I like that they have different price points so they can, include some people that perhaps couldn't afford their $15 ticket for other events, and make some of those events free and open to everyone. They're showing a lot of inclusion and diversity efforts. This looks like a really great learning opportunity, but the market is very small. So that's a little bit different than some of our other projects that we've looked at. I love that they're growing and that they're making an effort to make things much more accessible with handicapped accessible restrooms and being on the ground floor. I like that they're collecting some feedback on social media as well. Something I noted there are more than one Facebook page with this name on it. So when I first looked, I was noticing that there hadn't been any posts for 2 years. So I was wondering how they were collecting comments, but really there's a second page that's up to date now. So shutting down that old one would be very beneficial, because when you search, if you get an older one first, it looks like they're not doing anything, and that's not great for them. Looking at the staff, it looks like it's just the 2 of them. So that's a very small staff for the number of people that they're working with. They're definitely qualified and experienced. It just seems like a lot of work for just 2 people. I like that they are going to do some Facebook Live events. That also helps with varying your audience. Even people with transportation or mobility issues can participate then, as well as people who are just not comfortable during this COVID era we're in. I did notice that their budget is more than half marketing. So that's like a huge amount of money going out for marketing, which as a marketing person, I would love to have, but that might be something else to look into a little bit, looking through their marketing materials. There are some good things there, but that's a big portion going out for the marketing side of it. So thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. Good comments. Jessica Dennis.
Yeah, I agree with everything Jessica said. Just a few other things I would add. I thought the applicant did a really good job of indicating how it measures impact. I would be curious to know if they have specific numeric targets they're trying to reach in regards to audience numbers. And then I also really appreciated in the budget, there were a lot of comments on how they came up with some of their line items that I found that was really helpful. Hope Dave, you're on mute.
Excuse me, any other comments from the other panelists? Okay, great. Please update scores and provide any additional comments. Okay. All right. This is our last application, Michiana Public Broadcasting Corporation, WNIT. And our first reader is Randy.
This proposal submitted by WNIT for funding of its television series Experience Michiana demonstrates considerable quality. The program seeks to explore what makes Michiana a unique destination by promoting artistic and cultural activities taking place within our region. I also thought that the program demonstrates engagement needs, as the program is available at no cost and has an audience of an estimated audience of 13,000 viewers. The organization has a focused plan regarding its community engagement and idea narrative that reinforces the project's purpose and stated mission. The program invites input from the communities they serve. This input is one way the organization works with the community. Given the organization's own selection criteria, it would be useful to know how many of the 80 or so press releases and recommendations pass the initial review process. And if they don't, are they promoted by WNIT in other ways, such as blogs, social media, or via web? Another way the organization works with the community is through experiential exposure. Participants featured on this program benefit from this exposure with the prospect of gaining new audiences, as the organization estimates over 500,000 televisions air WNIT's programming in Michiana. I thought the timeline for this project, which indicates the ongoing and repetitive work required to develop and perfect this series, could have been outlined a little further and maybe more in depth, just to highlight to the reader how much work it really takes. The marketing materials and web presence are striking and professional in appearance, and the leadership seems more than qualified and capable of managing the production of the program. I was kind of a little confused on their community engagement section. I think it's question number 3, when they are asked to illustrate how they are working with the community, and they had addressed some internal work policies, such as classes and seminars they're required to take, but I didn't think that it fully addressed the question at hand. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy. Our next reader, Angela.
Thank you. Well, Randy did a thorough assessment of that application, and I am searching for ways to either add to that or counter that. I think it might be beneficial in an application like this, for this type of event, or program, that, if we knew how many of the programs related directly to the arts as opposed to other things, and like art and music. So, and also I guess that crossover into Southwest Michigan, how much of it benefits Indiana art venues in particular, if they keep track of that. Obviously, in terms of community engagement, it's very well committed to diversity and inclusion, and invites viewers' input, like Randy mentioned, and might be a bit stronger with a connection to regional arts community, keeping diversity and inclusion in mind. For example, arts organizations versus on-air invitations, actually reaching out to specific organizations might strengthen that project. And a very good description, as Randy mentioned, about the professional staff and experience, and a balanced budget seems appropriate. So thank you.
Good. Thanks very much, Angela. Comments, either additional or opposing comments from any of the other panelists? Okay. Would ask you to update your scoring, provide any additional comments. Okay. Thank you all very much. This concludes the panel, and I want to first thank the panelists for not just all their time today, but all the work they did in advance, reviewing the applications and preparing for today's panel. Also want to thank Kayla Myers, our regional arts partners, just done a great job preparing us for this. And last but not least, I want to thank the Indiana Arts Commission staff for all their work in putting this together and providing technical assistance and professional assistance along the way. To our audience, I want to thank all of you for tuning in to this panel. The applicants will be notified of the status of their grants in late June, following the IAC's quarterly business meeting. If you have any questions, please contact Kayla Myers at the Community Foundation of St. Joseph County at 574-232-0041. Kayla Myers at 574-232-0041. Thank you again for participating.
And if panelists can just stay on for just a moment, and Ben can stop the live stream.